And so citizens can express their views on issues within the Providence Planning Commission's jurisdiction. And we'll accept them here tonight, or if there's any, I don't know if there's any through email or online. Okay, thank you. Is there anybody here who wishes to make a public comment not tied to any of the items on the agenda? Okay. Then I guess we'll close that portion of the meeting. I can do that, right? I don't need to. I was thinking that. All right, very good. So then we will go on to the public hearings. Item number 2, City Code Title 11, Design Standards and Specification Amendments. The Planning Commission will take comments and questions from the public regarding a proposed adoption of the APWA National Standards with city-specific modifications as Providence City's new design standards and specifications. These changes may include code changes found in Title 11 of the city's municipal code. Do we have anybody? I've got names on here, but nobody asking to participate in. Is there anybody here for item number 2 that would like to make a comment as part of the public hearing? Okay. And I guess we'll close that part of the public hearing. I can do that too, right? All right.
You can open it and you can close it.
All right. I just closed that part. Item number 3, Lot 7, Providence City Center Subdivision Rezone Public Hearing. The Planning Commission will take comments and questions from the public regarding a request to rezone parcel 02-336-0002 located in the general area of 48 South Highway 165 from Commercial Highway or CHD to Commercial General CGD. Do we have anyone here that would like to make comments regarding item number 3? Please come forward if you would and tell us your name.
Just a clarification. So they're the applicant. Do you want the applicant at this time or in the agenda item under the administrative or the action items?
Yeah, we will give you an opportunity then. If you want to make a comment now, you're welcome to, but this really is for the general public. So yeah, good. Thank you. Okay. Then nobody's here for item number 3 as far as general public. So we'll close that portion of the meeting and go on to item number 4. Code Amendment Public Hearing Use Chart. The Planning Commission will be taking comments and questions from the public regarding a use chart code amendment change. The code amendment change is to show fitness center commercial gym as a permitted use in the CHD or highway, commercial highway. Anybody here want to make a comment on that from the general public? We're doing well on these public hearings. So. All right, then we will close that and we'll go to the legislative items. You're here for the Lot 7, correct? Is everybody okay if we skip to that and let them talk before we go to the other ones? Okay. So let's do item number 6 right now. Lot 7, Providence City Center Subdivision Rezone Request. The Planning Commission will review, discuss, and may make a recommendation to the City Council regarding a request to rezone parcel 02-336-0002 located in the general area of 48 South Highway 165 from Commercial Highway District to Commercial General. I don't know. Yes. Yes. Scarlett, would you mind sharing what you've got with us?
So this piece of property actually goes the length of the AmSource property. So it goes from the backside of the next meters and the Providence City Center townhomes, goes from there west to the highway. The building that they're talking about will stay on the east portion of this property, but the actual rezone is, the actual
Oh.
parcel goes clear to the highway. I'll let Kevin discuss most of it, but the biggest difference between the commercial highway and the commercial general, the commercial general actually gives the development more options because they can have non-sales tax producing businesses as permitted uses in the commercial general, like a doctor's office or an accountant office, things like that. In the commercial highway, that's specific to encourage businesses that generate sales tax. And so we'll talk about it a little bit when the gym comes up, but memberships from a gym generate sales tax. Retail sales, of course, generate sales tax. So those kind of businesses are what we allow in the commercial highway. Now, we do allow incidental or conditional uses that are not sales tax generating, but only a percentage, depending on if it's an incidental use or a conditional use, depends on how we figure the percentage. But either way it goes, either 85 or 87% of the development needs to generate sales tax. With the commercial general district, with the commercial general district, that we don't worry whether they generate sales tax or not. So it broadens the base of people that would be interested in putting a business in the area. They can go find more people to rent or purchase, because it just gives a bigger variety of businesses. So that's really the only that's the big difference between the two zones, as far as setbacks, as far as building heights, as far as parking requirements. All of that is the same. The difference between the commercial highway and the commercial general is just the sales tax encouragement part on the commercial highway. So, questions?
Nope, you go right ahead. I'll
Well, I just
follow.
wanted to ask about so in the drawings, I thought last time we talked about it, we were just talking about the dark blue, but we're talking about the light blue, but is that actually something that can be developed?
What page are you on?
So in the drawing, it's this page, Ryan,
Well,
I think.
I'm
Are you on
looking
this
at
page, Bob?
right after page 3 of 3. Yeah, that one right there, Ryan, that one.
Yeah.
Is that's what we're talking about?
North is to the left. Yes, all of that light blue and the dark blue. Full.
So that's when we're having this request, we're talking about all of that.
Yes.
And because I know there's
Not without
wetland
mitigation.
or whatever. What's that?
Not without some type of mitigation.
Okay, but it could be. It is possible that could be developed.
Other property that has had wetlands has been developed.
I've
based
noticed
on
that.
Mitigation, but this is currently, as I understand, wetlands that I don't think they intend to develop.
No,
But
I don't think that, Kevin, you might have to correct me, but I believe what is left there as wetlands is what was mitigated down to. Because they did do some mitigation and they improved some of these wetlands, but they reduced them and improved a project somewhere else that the Corps approved of. So what is there, I guess it's possible that the Corps could reconsider, but that's already been mitigated down for their development.
So then my next question is, and thank you for that answer, can we just discuss the rezone for the dark blue area, or do we have to do the whole area?
Well, they asked for the parcel on their application. Now, maybe they didn't mean the whole parcel, but they did ask for the parcel on their application, so the rezone would apply to
Okay,
the way it's written, the rezone would apply to the parcel.
okay, thank you. Anybody else have a question for Scarlett?
Yeah, I did. So you said gyms are sales tax generating.
I'm sorry, what?
You said that gyms are sales tax generating. meaning
Memberships?
Memberships are sales taxable, and then products sold in the gym as
Mhm.
well. Okay.
Mhm.
Had another question, but I lost it. Slipped right through my fingers. So if I have it, I'll bring it back up again. I should have written it down.
So, give you an example of an incidental use, America First Credit Union is an incidental use inside of Macy's because credit unions don't generate sales tax. But the size of the credit union compared to the size of the Macy's building, they were able to section off that part, and that's an incidental use. We don't have, well, actually we do. USU Credit Union on the southwest corner. Chase Bank, I believe, came in before that zone was changed to the commercial highway before we created it. And so it came in as a permitted use, but the US Golden West USU Credit Union, that's an example of a conditional use because it's a standalone building. But based on the square footage of what they had with the retail generating buildings, the, Macy's and the little strip mall and the Tractor Supply and then the restaurants and stuff, based on all of that square footage, then they had enough square footage for USU Credit Union. They actually have some more square footage, if you go strictly off square footage, that they could look for conditional uses. They do have some room to have a few more conditional uses, but the rezoning simplifies that. A business doesn't have to worry about how big or small they are or if they'll fit within the conditions. So to have it be commercial general does simplify it, but those are two examples of the incidental use that's allowed and the conditional use that's allowed, are those two credit unions.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Anybody else for Scarlett?
I had a question. Thank you. I know there's a percentage basis that I think it's 12%. Is that what I read? That the overall project, that there could be that to that percentage. Do we exceed that with this change possibly, or?
Well, you're taking this property out of the mix.
So
And
it-
what we've considered thus far are the existing buildings. The existing retail buildings are what we look at. And then as a new conditional use comes in, or a new incidental use, which is inside the building. So the incidental use, we look at that particular building's square footage to base the incidental use off. The conditional use, we look at the development, the buildings in the development. So where this piece doesn't have any buildings either way,
Right.
you're taking land mass out of the zone, but you're not taking any building square footage out of the zone right now.
So the percentage issue is not a real valid thing.
Not right now, no, it wouldn't be.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. If there was a building sitting on it
Yes.
and you took that building out, then that would have had an impact on the rest of the development. But where it's only based on existing buildings, this does not have any impact one way or the other at this point.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Scarlett.
Thanks.
Okay, I'd invite the developer to come up, and if you'll state your name and
My name's Kevin Hawkins. I'm with AmSource Development. And I was telling Bob before the meeting started that I remember coming and meeting with the mayor. What was Alma's last name?
Lenhart.
Lenhart, that's right. And going over, and he warned me about going and meeting with Seth Alder about his land, because he said he's never going to sell that land. But what a fine man Seth turned out to be. We became good friends. So we've developed this from the ground up, and our intention was always to continue building We ended up having a gap between the dollar store and then where the Tractor Supply is. And you usually have a continuous drive aisle that goes across. That's just how you do shopping centers. But what happened to us was Chick-fil-A came along, who we love Chick-fil-A. And they wanted to go right there. And I was a little bit surprised that they usually want to be right up on the street. But they went there. They are a huge sales tax generator, much more sales tax than if I would have continued the shopping center over. And so we opted to go with Chick-fil-A. And now with Chick-fil-A being there and the wetlands being there, I can't continue the shopping center because there would be no parking in front of those buildings to do that. So we want to do what's called a flex building. It's a 30,000 square foot building, and it's going to be a good looking building, and we're going to have a mix of uses in there. We will have sales tax generating businesses in there, but we have to. That's the category of building. Like when we did this shopping center, we already had a deal with Macy's, so I could buy all the land, and the bank would loan us the money, and we could build it. With flex buildings, it's a little unique in the industry. You can't pre-lease them. It's like you build it and they will come. Because those kind of users, they go, I want to see it. I want to kick the tires. I want to move in next week. So I need this latitude of the zone change because this is probably going to be a $5 million project that we're going to invest. And I just needed to broaden the base of who we can lease to. And really in the spirit of the underlying zoning, I feel like we delivered what the city wanted. And the reason I'm saying that is because that Chick-fil-A generates probably 3 times the sales tax than if I would have continued little shops along there. So you're getting your sales tax, and there'll be even more sales tax with this building we're gonna build. And it'll be also employment. There'll be more employment, so they will raise the sales of the shopping center, either before work or after work or during lunch. The employment base will, in all likelihood, eat at the shopping center or go get something at Macy's on the way home. So it'll really lift the sales of the whole place. And to answer your question, I missed this. I didn't study this very carefully, but we don't need to change the zoning on that light blue. We've got a final report with the Army Corps. It's all signed off. We have no intention to develop that. And so if you want to put the stipulation that it only applies to the dark blue, we can provide a legal description of that with the zone change, or in all likelihood, what I would like to do, but I don't want it to delay. Should you decide to approve us, I don't want to delay it for this, but we've talked about platting it as its own lot because the wetlands there really shouldn't be subject to property tax because it's unusable. And if we plat it as its own separate lot, it would be in a green belt and there would be no property taxes due. But if you put it with the whole lot, the assessor might say, well, that's a 3-acre lot when it's really a 2-acre lot, for example. So that's what we'd like to do. We appreciate you hearing our request, and I can answer any questions.
Okay.
I can
Thank you.
attempt to answer any questions.
Thank you. All right. Anybody have questions for Kevin?
Well, I was just curious. I know it's not needed to present drawings or anything like that. That'll come at a different time. But for the building that's planned, what about parking?
We actually have. Can you pull that up?
Yeah,
Can't.
they showed
If I
it.
pull that?
He needs permission,
I'm just
Mr.
looking for the-
Chairman.
Yes,
for you to-
please. We saw it last week or last time we met. I think it's good to see. That was very helpful to see that actually.
Yeah. So this category of building, pure retail buildings, they usually require, we call it 5-to-1 parking, 5 parking spots for every 1,000 square feet. And that's a lot of parking. This category of building doesn't require as much parking. And the parking's different. again, the retail, you want to orient it to the main street and the shopper wants to come and get back out. This is more employment. So we meet your parking code for this building. It's 30,000 square feet and we meet that.
Perfect. Thank you.
So I had a question. Don't mind.
Please, Joe.
So I'm a little bit confused. People have been talking about a gym in there and that it generates sales tax, but you're not talking about putting a gym in there.
No,
Two different agenda,
Yeah.
two different
it's a
agendas.
different agenda item.
One was putting the gym in. I think that will go where Black Bear Diner was at. This is separate and not considered.
Well, that's why I'm saying I'm confused.
Yeah,
I
that,
mean, I'm admitting that.
yeah, this is not, this agenda is totally separate from the gym one. The gym is kind of Black Bear Diner, and this is behind Chick-fil-A.
Well, it's already zoned for, the diner is in a commercial sales tax
Yeah.
generating area, and a gym would be, so there's just no change there.
We'll explain that.
Yeah, there is
We'll explain that
actually.
one.
There was a mistake on the use chart when we approved it the last time, so we've got to correct that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so.
One's
so-
one's changing the definition of a zoning code to add,
Yeah, one's adding that back.
and this is just, we're changing our zoning only on this one piece.
Okay, well, I'm focused simply on this one.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Questions? Comments?
Yeah, I have a question.
Please.
Are you planning on leaving this wetland space just raw, rugged, or are you do you have any beautification plans or anything going in there?
There's very little you can do with the Army Corps. There is very limited what because you can't, for example, they don't want you putting things in there if it needs fertilizer or something, like to put flowers and to beautify it. But by and large, you leave it natural, and that's what Army Corps prefers because they want it to be what nature intended, kind of. But if it becomes an eyesore or a safety hazard, we would come in and correct that, whatever that was.
Clean it if it becomes a dumping
Right.
area. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
You would have the option though, to completely mitigate that by buying other wetlands areas and generating that and turning that into a commercial, wouldn't you?
It's possible, but I've been a developer for 45 years, and the Army Corps is very tough, and we've made our case and made our deal with them. And it's not to say we couldn't reapproach them and do it, but it's so linear what we have left. It's really not very developable, and so I don't think there'd be any intrinsic value. So the cost to go and provide more mitigation versus the remainder property that's left, we couldn't do that from a practical standpoint. From a tactical standpoint, I guess I had to say, yeah, I guess somebody could do that. From a practical standpoint, I don't see it happening, and that's why I'm willing to have that area not be subject to this zone change, because we don't plan to do anything with that part of it.
And it's okay if in a proposal tonight, we state that the dark blue area. Okay.
Then you would need to make a condition that they provide us with the legal description.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
And we're happy to do that.
Good. All right.
Question.
Yes,
Do you
sir.
see any wildlife in that light blue area?
I haven't, but I'm not up here all the time. But
Maybe birds.
Probably birds, yeah.
Not much.
I developed 20 years in the state of Florida, where the whole state's a wetland.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of,
See some
and
crocodiles.
you wonder out in the
there.
middle of nowhere, there's like a pond, like fish in this pond. And I was walking with the Army Corps one time. I go, how does this happen? And it's birds create the fish because they've eaten fish eggs somewhere. And then when they fly over and poop in the pond,
Kidding.
fish are born. It's a weird thing, but that's what happens.
That's awesome.
How do the crocodiles get there, or alligators, whatever they have?
Yeah,
They go where they want.
yeah,
They're
exactly.
big bad beasts.
They're exempt.
All right. Okay. Thank you,
Thank you.
Kevin. Appreciate it. Okay. So any discussion about that? We may make a recommendation to the city council regarding this property. Any other thoughts or concerns?
I think it looks good and sounds good. I think it'll bring, the development will create more opportunities, jobs, and some additional sales tax. I think it's take advantage of land that's sitting there ready to, that hasn't been used for quite a while. I think it all looks good. I think the stipulation of just to take the wetland portion out and keep that the way it is and already locked down with the Army Corps, that we're really just focusing on the dark purple, dark blue. But I think it seems to be something good and look forward to seeing it.
Okay. Would you like to make a motion?
Well, that's something I could do unless there's others that would like to jump in. But let me pull it up here real quick. Get my screen back up. Bob, did you have any
No.
comments or anything? Anybody else, any
Joe,
other
Julie,
comments?
Any other comments?
Oh no, I just
Joe?
reiterate
Oh,
what you said. I really like the plan, the idea. I think it's a good use of space. Really conscientious of the surrounding areas and businesses. So I appreciate that.
Joe?
Yeah, just being mindful that we are only making a recommendation.
Yes.
I'm opposed to it. I look at it and it's making an exception to the existing general plan and what the general plan provided for that area. And I don't know if we make an exception here, where we're gonna make exceptions to other areas that are zoned that are sales tax generating. But I'm not so opposed to it that I'm gonna lobby one way or
Right.
the other. I just wanna maintain some consistency.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate that.
Can I just say, I do see that, you know, when we just go kind of change and what are the guidelines we're changing those based on. I do think evaluating each piece with a case by case evaluation, knowing that there is limitations in parking, limitations in visibility and accessibility. I do think that's what's great about having these types of meetings, is that nothing we've done before is set in stone, or what had been decided before we got here in this position, you know, was decided upon. And as the city changes and grows and develops, there are some adjustments. And I do think that you know, from my understanding and what I've seen, and also that space, I do think the argument does stand that it's a good change for the space.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'll give it a whirl. I would make a motion that the Planning Commission make a recommendation to the City Council regarding the request to rezone parcel 02-336-0002 located in the general area of 48 South Highway 165 from Commercial Highway CHD to Commercial General CGD, subject to the findings of facts, subject to the conclusions and the conditions as stated in the staff reports, and also the condition being added of the wetland areas being excluded from the rezone, and the applicants providing the necessary detail as requested by the staff for the purple area, the highlighted area of what would be the zoning would be changed.
Okay, and we have a motion by Michael
I will second that.
and a second by Julie. Any other comments before we take a vote? All right, those in favor of the motion that Michael made, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes, on the basis of what I indicated
Right.
previously.
Thank you. So 4 in favor, 1 opposed. And Joe explained that earlier. Very good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Okay, we'll go back to item number 5, City Code Title 11, Design Standards and Specifications Amendment. The Planning Commission will review, discuss, and may make a recommendation to the City Council regarding a proposed adoption of the APWA National Standards with city-specific modifications as Providence City's new design standards and specifications. And Scarlett, are you going to share some thoughts with us on that?
I'm actually gonna let Ryan share some thoughts, but
Okay.
I will tell you that, the standard that, the APWA standard is a nationwide standard. The Utah chapter has their modifications that they've made, so this is kind of two-part. We want to adopt the APWA Utah standard, and then we also are going to suggest our own addendum to those standards, and that is what you got in your packets. We did not send the complete APWA standards and specifications. So I'll turn the rest of that over to Ryan.
Yes,
Okay,
and,
very
and for those that would like to read the entire standard, I do have those and would be happy to share those.
I'll take 2.
I will send it to you by email so you can read it that way. But there is the standards and the specifications. So it's the entirety of both of these, not one or, no.
699 pages I saw.
At least.
And you guys are supposed to know all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
At least it's a good reference to us. So a few reasons why we do this. So first of all, the basis, our last standard and spec was approved in 20 years
Made
ago.
a few changes, but we've had it pretty much since 2012, and then we've made some changes, but I think the last change we made was in 2018 or something.
Yeah. So the last time we went through a codification of it or combining of it was 2012. So yeah. So at that point, it's been quite a while. A new one of these comes out about every year, every other year. So there are some things that the industry changes. And if we're not constantly keeping up on that standard, it will change and we won't update it. And so then things change. An example of that. It's probably been 17 years ago that the standard for UDOT changed the road-based standard. The breakout of the sieve analysis, basically the size of rock, the different sizes of rock in a road-based mix. So about 17 years ago, they made that change and went from a 3/4 inch road base to 1 1/4 inch road base. You don't have to know all of that detail, but the idea is they moved to that. Our standard is still on the 3/4 inch road base, or at least the current one is. So in 17 years, we haven't made that change. So what happens is all of these gravel pits out there start to produce what the largest buyer of road base says is their new standard. So now all of the new road base that's been generated over the last 17 years has generally been built to this 1 1/4 inch standard that UDOT now has. And so at that point, the supply and some of those things become less and less of the old 3/4 inch standard. So if we hold to our old standards and don't have a consistent update to what is happening in the market, we can inadvertently create a cost difference to us to try to hold to an old standard that's no longer current versus being able to follow that current standard. Does that make sense? Kind of an example. But anyway, I don't mean to lose you in the detail of that, but what we're looking for is, as Scarlett said, we're looking to take and tie ourselves to a national standard. Now, the APWA has a Utah chapter that takes and says, okay, here's the national standard. We'll make some tweaks because we're in a colder environment than Tucson is. So Tucson may have a slightly different standard than Utah does, and Michigan has a slightly different than we do. But the national standard is established, and then there's variations for our weather and certain conditions. So what this is doing is we're taking that and we're following that. We've done this same thing with the International Building Code. We've adopted it. We've adopted the state wildland urban interface. We've just recently done that. So tying us to these national standards allows that consistency between cities, between developments. A new developer comes in, they've been working along the Wasatch Front where the cities are more in line with their standards, and they move to ours, and now they have to relearn our standards. So that's one of the reasons why we're doing it. So anyway, 50 cities out of 236 have already adopted this along this throughout the state.
Say that again, how many?
50 out of 236. Logan has adopted this. Nibley has adopted this. So they've paved the way before us. So we're not on the leading edge. We're not on the bleeding edge. But we are maybe ahead of the curve as we move to this. It will take us from behind the curve to ahead of the curve. Does that make sense? And put us in the mainstream, really. So that's where we're going with it. The standards are here. Any specific standard, happy to go through that. And then what we do is we break that down into two other documents. We take the standards. Well, let's start with specifications. Specifications is all the written document of how to do something. And so it's the wording behind what we ask contractors to do. And so then we take and we have an addendum to that standard. And our addendum to these is we've got 4 sections, and we have about, I was looking to see if it would tell me page numbers here. We have about 9 pages of things we think are specific to Providence and our public works. Out of that 600 to 1,200 pages, depending if you include both, we have about 9 pages. So some of the things, for instance, that we have specific is fire hydrants. We want a consistent fire hydrant to be made or to be installed in Providence because we know how to maintain those and we know how to repair those, and we have the supplies needed to maintain that fire hydrant. As a national standard, they don't really care the brand, they don't care the specifics. So they would say, well, these 5 different fire hydrants could be a fire hydrant, could work. But for us, we say, well, we want to take that a little bit more granular and determine we want to have a specifics to our fire hydrant because that's how we work and know. It's a national brand of fire hydrant, but we have specifics. Does that make sense? Some things, how we test things, disinfect, some of the service lines and meter barrels. We have certain things we like, and we want our contractors to build that way. So that's what the other spec is. So pipe installation, we want it that way. Fire hydrants, disinfectant service lines. A lot of these are because of how we're operating and our own environment. So
It also helps with inventory control.
helps with
Because if
inventory,
we're using-
absolutely.
If we're using a certain meter type, a certain fire hydrant type, we can buy in mass quantity because that's what we're using. And rather than having, and then if you're in a trouble and you're hurrying to get something, you don't have to remember, oh, was that this kind of meter or was it this kind of meter or this kind of hydrant or that kind of hydrant? So narrowing it down really does, it has a ripple effect when it comes to inventory control and when it comes to quick maintenance decisions.
So, perfect. That was
Okay, that's
great.
good. Yeah.
So then if we come from the specifications to the standards, we have 12 pages of those. So of the 830 pages of that. So the 830 pages, we have 12 pages of drawings that are specific for our area. Some of them include the pavement cross sections, primarily, and I'm going to come back to this one, primarily our roadway width, our asphalt width, curb and gutter, some of those things that make it so that we're a consistent building and developing area. So then we have a partial cross section. We have our site triangle that has been passed. You've seen this. You've adopted a lot of this in your site triangle and those things. And we take that code that's specific for us and we do a drawing to show it in how it's to be built. And so a lot of this is flows there. We also have, because we have different lengths of our cul-de-sacs and some of the requirements for our fire hydrant or fire trucks that are servicing us, we put some specific things in because of our adopted standard with fire. Because of our snowplow, because we like to plow it into the curb as we can, we've added, so this little section here, for instance, we've added another side to the edge of the curb so that we have both spots finished. In the national standard, they don't care. They're not plowing to that, but we are, and we want to have something so that our plow doesn't get snagged on the curb. Anyway, small little, I know I delve into the weed on those, but we have certain things we want to achieve. When we have a manhole, we want it to be consistent. So it's consistent with what we have. So anyway, those are the way we want water meters installed so that we can know what we're getting in. When we get to a water meter, we have the same meters, we have the same installation methods. So anyway, gate valves, things like that we've determined work best for our site. So that's what it is. Any questions of where we're headed, why we're headed there, and anything that I've covered so far? And I have one more thing to cover, but I want to make sure that anything on that one.
Do you see the APWA changing these specs later on? To make Providence change?
So they won't make us change. If they change something and we don't like it, we can always put an addendum and keep what we like in our supplemental. So that's what the supplemental is. We took things that we said, hey, we don't like what you did. We want it specific for us, and this is what those are. So we can always do that.
Did write it though, so that when they make changes, we don't have to re-adopt every time they make a change.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask, what the process is there, so.
Yeah, so we'll adopt the APWA standard, the latest standard, and so we'll continue to keep up with that instead of having to always adopt and.
But if they, so what we're saying is what we would be recommending possibly is going with the current and what will be the current, stay with the current APWA or whatever standards. But if there's something different that you decide, no, that's not what we want to do in our city, that's not what we've been doing or whatever, how does that happen? What's the process to do that?
Yeah, so at this point, we would have modifications go through our administrative land use authority, which is our public works director, our city engineer, and our city community development director. So those three individuals would review any modification to the change as it comes up. So,
Okay.
and they're very technical in nature. So that's why we would take it as a technical one. This,
Be a code change.
Right.
Code change would come through you and through the city council. But if it was just a drawing change or a specific technical change that wasn't involved in the code, then we as the land use authority would make that change.
for instance, if you pass a new code and we need to have a standard to match, that body would work on that standard. But because we're adopting a whole new one and making significant change to how the process works, we're taking it as an ordinance and code change to you. That's why you're involved
Okay.
in this kind of detail, is because we're doing a change in direction. In the future, you probably won't have a lot of down in every little, you won't have to draw these out. You won't have to be in the weeds of every new drawing. You'll be in the overview of making such a shift that's why you're involved. And then the public hearings would have been involved. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, along with these diagrams, do you have a written format that you're adopting?
Yes, the drawings. So the diagrams are what we include as standards, and the written is what we refer to as specifications.
Yeah.
So this was the drawings. The last document I showed was the specifications. So these are the standards, and
Do we have a copy of that?
Mhm,
No.
you don't.
Is there a way to get a copy of that?
Absolutely. I
Please,
will
thank
send it
you.
out to you. I got it. I got the most updated one 15 minutes ago
Oh,
that I
okay,
showed,
yeah.
that I presented.
Saw you presenting it. I was like, I'm not.
Yeah, you
finding
didn't.
that.
I only had it for 15 minutes. I've been over it. I've reviewed it. But that final draft, I've only had that one. So anyway, we will get it to you. Absolutely.
you.
That's the 9 pages that you talked about.
That's correct. So I went through those 9 pages. That's what that is. So
Okay, you had one other item.
I do. I
Okay.
just wanted to make sure we'd flushed out this because this is a little different. This is an actual change to the standard. So what we're doing is we're taking our standards, we've cleaned up, taken what we have, compared it with the national standard. We've cleared out anything out of those 9 pages, or 12 in this one. We've cleared out anything that's already in this standard. And so we're moving away from any, minimizing our modifications. But there is one that I'd like to address that is a change to what we currently have. And that's why I'm wanted it to be discussed independently of any of the others. So it is the pavement width. So what happens is we have a local road. And in order to have a local road at 30 feet, when you take into consideration 30 feet and you have 24 feet of roadway, 12-foot lanes, when you have 12-foot lanes, that doesn't leave a lot of room for anything else. 30 feet of asphalt, you're left with 6 feet. You can't park in that. So a local road doesn't permit, by its width, wouldn't permit on-street parking. It wouldn't allow that because it doesn't have enough width to allow 2 lanes of travel. But if we change the standard here a little bit, we have 11-foot lanes, then we can have 11-foot lanes and a one-side street parking, and we can fit that within 32 feet. So we have to narrow the lanes a little from the 12 and widen the road a little in order to fit parking on one side or the other. And if we do that, then we can address, we've had a lot of on-street parking discussions. At 30 feet, we'll never get to on-street parking. Any street that is 30 feet or less, it is not allowed for on-street parking because the width of the road doesn't permit that to happen. So this would allow future roads, future development, to have the ability to have parking on one side or the other. So that's a hope of trying to say, hey, we've heard a lot of feedback on this. I don't know whether you've heard feedback on this, but we have. And so that's what we're looking at.
I've given feedback on that, so.
Also matches what they put in state code.
Right. That's the amount that the state would allow us to go. They won't allow us to go on a local road any more than that. That is matching the state codes because they see the same thing we do. There is some value to some on-street parking in certain ways, maybe not in the winter and not trailers unconnected to a power unit, to a vehicle. But anyway, that's what that one is. So that's why the 32. Does that make sense?
So the 32, 40, and 52, those are all,
Changes.
but they're all state.
No, the 32 is the one that the state says on a local road, you can't require more than 30.
Okay.
The other changes just make more sense because bike lanes, including bike lanes and widening enough for traffic, different types of traffic, turn lanes, whatnot. So they just give us a little bit more buffer.
So the state doesn't dictate those sizes; they dictate the maximum on the local road.
Okay.
So the other ones aren't capped by the state.
Right. Okay, good.
So,
Thank you.
but it fits the right-of-way width. We've made it match to the right-of-way width. We've had to adjust a little bit of the park strip from 7 to 6, and a little bit of the lane. But you'll see on these notes, a minor collector, as our transportation master plan would ask us to do, and creating bike lanes. A minor collector would then be allowed to have bike lanes and parking on one side. At this point, it's 3 feet short of being able to allow that. So we either get bike lanes or parking, but we can't do both. This would allow some of that. The 52 would have a turn lane. A turn lane, because it's slower traffic, can be narrower, so we can take it down to 10. And then we have the travel lanes, and you need, because it's usually a faster road on a major collector, we have the 12-foot and the 10-foot turn lane. And then we could have bike lanes and parking on both sides for a major collector, which is what we expect. You could kind of see that in front of Spring Creek Middle School. We could have bike lanes, we could have parking on both sides, and the 3 lanes of traffic. So, and then the arterial would be an 11-foot turn lane, and then bike lanes on a major arterial. It doesn't have the parking, because that would be like parking on Highway 165. We wouldn't allow parking, regular parking on a busy, fast road like that. That just isn't safe, and so we don't allow that. We have very little minor arterial within the side.
That's what I was going to ask, if you have an example of that in the city.
You know, it's probably the only minor arterial we have is probably between 165 and Macy's. That little stretch there is probably our minor arterial. And you couldn't imagine having a parking on those sides of the street. But it does allow us to do some of that rest, so we're trying to incorporate both a plan, but as we're limited by the feet of asphalt, we're limited in what we can offer, and we've seen that feedback has come out. So that's why we're trying to address it here.
Good. Thank you.
So we listened. This is the way we can do that.
I like it. Okay, thank you.
Ryan, are we in any conflict by reducing the travel lanes with the state code or anything like that, or it gives us the flexibility to?
No, it gives us the flexibility to do that. Yes. Yeah. These are all within side of the state limits on those. So,
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else have questions? Bob, do you have a comment?
This would be
question?
for future, nothing to change now.
Yeah, we can't change the past.
Yeah.
This is just future, yeah. But if we came to develop, let's say we came to your street, you have a 24-foot wide asphalt, but it doesn't have curb and gutter. Let's say we came to that street, we would build it to this standard if we were to come, rather than what it currently is. If we were to come and redo that street, we would build it to the standard.
Thank you.
Julie?
I've got nothing besides just requesting that document.
Okay.
Get it to you.
Joe? No?
Oh, but I do understand state spec road base and Right.
I hope that that helps to give an idea of why keeping our standards up to current makes a difference.
So Logan has done it, Nibley has done it,
Yes.
50 cities plus or whatever in the state.
Correct.
How come other cities haven't done it yet, like us? We're doing it now. Is it just they just
Well, it's costly. I mean, at this point, for us to compare what we have to what the new standard is, this was in our budget to do, so it was a budgeted capital expense. We might spend $80,000 to make this change, and once we've done it, then our expenses in the future will probably be less. We expect it to be. But it's a big deal. I mean, to go through the drawings, to go through all of what we had, to bring them up to speed, to know, well, what is it? I mean, this has been through lots of staff work and time, engineering work and time. And then having the ability to spend the time of what standard do you want to keep? I mean, learning a whole new standard is a large task for our public works director.
Yeah.
And so he's having to learn that. Our engineers having to come on with that. Once we get to it, then it makes it more consistent. But it's like a master plan. It's important. We redo it every so many years. But sometimes we tend not to do it as soon because it does take a lot of cost to get there. So I think some of it's cost and some of it, people like to have their own domain and keep exactly what they like. And we're opening up and saying, well, we can adopt what is more consistent with others. And it will be, I assume a lot of them will go to that eventually, but
Yeah.
there is some
Okay.
hesitation.
Good. Okay. Well, we may make a recommendation to the city council regarding the APWA national standards, Utah standards, I guess. Anybody have any other comments or anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we make a positive recommendation to the city council regarding the proposed adoption of the APWA national standards with the Providence City specific modifications to the new design standards and specifications.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion by Joe Chambers to make a positive recommendation to the city council regarding item number 5, the APWA national standards.
I'll second that.
And Bob Perry gives a second to that. Any other comments before we vote? All right, those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
And Julia,
Awesome, thank you.
I don't know what the people in the audience are on, but before we go to the use chart, which I doubt they're here for, the affordable housing incentives, which I don't think they're here for, but could be surprised, I'd make a motion that we determine what they're here for and move that item up on the agenda to accommodate them.
All right. Any of you here for a specific item? Okay. And that's it? That's the one item everybody's here for? Are you making a motion then that a recommendation, we move to item 9?
I'm through making motions.
I'll
What-
make a motion that we move item number 9
All
to
right.
now.
Anybody opposed to doing that?
No,
No.
Okay. We'll go ahead and go to item number 9 then at this time. Prologue Commercial Subdivision Preliminary Plat. The Planning Commission will review, discuss, and may take action on the Prologue Commercial Subdivision Plat, a 7-lot commercial subdivision located in the general area of Gateway Drive and Golf Course Road. Would you like to come up and make us, well, let's see, first I guess we better have Scarlett, sorry.
Developers have been pretty good to work with us. There are a few things that we'll talk about in the meeting though. As with any of our preliminary plats, we look at the state code. We look at our general plan, we look at our city code, we look at our transportation plans, our master plans. One of the key issues in this that maybe, Ryan, it would be easier if you pulled up one of the maps. The developer is currently proposing a road on the west side of the development that's proposed, and it's proposed joint ownership by Providence City and Logan City. We do have some roads where we butt up against another city, but generally those lines are perpendicular to the road rather than down the middle. And so this one would be down the middle, which probably can be done, but it's problematic. Maintenance agreements and different things. So that's one of the things that we need to talk about. Providence City staff has expressed concern about ongoing road maintenance between the two cities. The developer suggested an interlocal agreement outlining joint maintenance terms. The city staff preferred shifting the road so it lays entirely in one city. And we also talked about a municipal boundary line adjustment that maybe would, rather than shifting the actual location of the road, would shift either our boundary or to the west, or Logan would shift their boundary just a bit to the east. Either way, we would probably recommend, if we do the boundary shift, or even if they adjust the road, we would probably recommend that one of the cities go from the curb, so that the curb, the park strip, and the sidewalk are under the control of the city, that the lots are adjacent to it. Because our ordinances, and I'm sure Logan's, are written very close to ours, the property owners adjacent to the right-of-way improvements keep the sidewalk clean and the park strip mowed and that type of thing. So that's kind of where we're at. But that's going to have to go through council, and if we do the boundary adjustment, that goes through both councils, both Logan and Providence, and it's quite a process. So, but just something to keep in mind. As we go through this,
Can I ask a question? So, sorry to interrupt, but so this is a preliminary plat, but the developer's not here tonight?
yes,
You are the developers. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I knew who was here. Okay.
yeah.
All right, good.
Yep,
Thank
they're
you.
here.
Okay.
Yes. This is a commercial development, so it's not, while it meets helps us with our general plan goals and vision and key initiatives, it doesn't necessarily impact the moderate income housing, because it's designed for commercial development, no housing in this particular development. It's currently zoned commercial general, so they can have a variety of commercial uses in here. And that's what they, to this point, they've wanted to keep that zoning. We've talked about some other things, but to this point, they've wanted to keep that zoning. And it does fit within our general plan framework, the zoning does. As far as the master plans go, even though it's commercial, it does have a local park or not a local park, has a regional park, I believe, that's close to it. Alma Lenhart Park. And it is not uncommon to see the employees from several of the commercial buildings that are around us walking to that park on their lunch hours and stuff. So I do think that employees or even participants at the general public, having a park in an area that's close to commercial, especially if it's got office buildings and stuff, is actually a big plus, because I do see quite a few of the employees walk past here to get to Alma Lenhart. It's also the road, Gateway Drive, already has the bike lanes in it and is designed for that. So it's meeting those. They won't have to make any changes there. And as far as our other master plans, they will create their stormwater. The stormwater is kind of a two-part. They'll create the stormwater for the subdivision on a whole, the system, but then individually, as the individual lots come in, depending on how the individual lot is utilized, it may be responsible to create additional stormwater for that lot. So they will take care of the stormwater through the construction drawing process, which we're not to yet. We've got to get the preliminary plat first. The others, the water rights, they will be dedicated at the time of the final plat. Or a fee in lieu would be paid. The wastewater and the culinary water, we will receive impact fees for those at the time the buildings come in. So that they'll meet all of our master plan, general plans with what we're doing.
Just one comment on plans. The transportation plan would foresee a potential roundabout at the Gateway and golf course and Gateway, and so you'll see on the plan there is a cutback in the right of way to take that amount needed for the fitting of the roundabout at this point. So you'll see that little triangle cut off
Can you point?
Right here.
right here.
That way, okay.
Yeah, right there.
Anyway, so you'll see that does kind of expect that may happen, and so we'd need to acquire that piece, and so we're having them dedicate that to the right of way so that we can accomplish that as we're there. So some have brought that up. I don't know whether you have in this group, but that's why that little piece is done. So sorry.
We also have talked to them about both Gateway Drive and Golf Course Road are what we term limited access roads in our transportation plan. We've talked to them. We realize that their lots don't fit exactly the way the existing intersections work, but we've talked to them about shared driveways and things like that. We'll continue to work with them to minimize the road cuts. The developer realizes that that's important as well, so they'll continue to work with us on that. One of the other things that is yet to kind of be determined is the road. Well, it appears to be a road right now, but it's not a full-blown street that goes through the middle of the subdivision. That's going to be for fire access, but whether it will remain like a street or whether it will be absorbed into parking lots, but the parking lots will be designed so that the emergency vehicles still have road through there. That will take place some of that will take place with the site improvements. Some of it will take place with easements at the time of the recorded plat. So we will make sure, and the developer is aware of that. We discussed Aaron Walker. We had a phone conversation or a Zoom meeting with the developer, and Aaron Walker was on that. And we discussed placements of fire hydrants. Some of this stuff will be shown on the construction drawings, but I just want you to be aware that the developer's aware of it, and we will work a lot of that type of thing out. But that's not necessarily a road. It's definitely, well, at this point, it's highly unlikely it would be dedicated to the city. Even if it remains a road, it would be a private road within the development, that middle one. And I think that's the key points. So your input on the West Street is beneficial, and any other input and questions you have. The developer is anticipating that you may have some questions and some input. So if you don't have any other questions for me, I'll let them come up and you can ask them, and I will chime in if I need
So let me,
to.
I do have one question on that center road that's not a road or whatever,
Right,
because it doesn't meet the standard of the width that it should be, right?
right.
For one, so I keep envisioning Zollinger's cold storage area where there's just a road kind of going through. And then who,
And the Macy's area. You know, when you come off of 100 South, west of Tractor Supply, that's not a city street.
okay,
That's a private road through that whole development that comes from and it goes from 100 South to 100 North.
so the city would have no responsibility to maintain that,
Not if it stays private
Right.
within the development.
okay?
And that's the way it's anticipated right now. Now, if it changed, then it was dedicated and they made it to our regular right-of-way width and whatnot, then that would make a change. But the way it's done right now, it's going to be private.
Hmm.
So I just didn't want you to be confused thinking
Yeah.
that would be a city street with a turn
Right.
lane. The
Okay.
other thing we're hoping to do is to be able to connect the road to the north. However, they came in way early before some of our ordinances caught up with what we need in the commercial area, so I don't know if that will happen or not, but to the developer's credit, they did reach out to the north developer and it was not favorably received at this point. So I don't know if that will happen. But that's our goal for the future, is that commercial developments will make room for one another as they come in.
So I'm just pulling up Macy's to show you that's kind of what you envision coming down through here. So this is a private road on Macy's. That, this one here, just to measure it, just to give you a point of reference, not that it has to go one way or the other, just a point of reference. If you've driven that, the width of that is approximately 25 to 26 feet based on trying to measure off of GIS. But
Okay. And that's true at the other end of that street by Tractor Supply as well?
let's look. Somewhere in that 25 to 27 feet. So,
Okay, yeah.
and they're proposing, do I remember what it was? 20,
24,
26,
26?
I think it says 26.
okay. Yeah, that's-
Any other questions for Scarlett?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. We'll turn some time over to the developers then. If you'll state your name, please.
Good evening. My name is Alex Knorr. Just a couple points of clarification. So the middle road, we refer to it as a drive aisle. It will essentially connect all the parking lots. It will have a public utility easement. The utilities that run through there will be public, so they will be owned by Providence City, and they'll have an easement there dedicated to them. But the road itself and the maintenance of the asphalt and everything will be the developer, but the utilities will be public. At least that's our current plan. You know, there's the reason for that, Scarlett mentioned fire access is important, but also the complication, which I'm sure most of your questions are going to come from, the joint jurisdiction road, is one of the challenges with a joint jurisdiction road is you can't have two conflicting city utilities in the same road. So the way we got around that was putting the utilities through the middle of the property there. That way it could connect 100% to a Providence City system and not conflict with Logan or anything like that. But happy to answer any other questions.
most,
Comment with regards to what Scarlett said, that keeping the road all within Providence and not trying to split it with Logan City.
Yeah, great question. So one of the benefits is we own and are developing the piece to the west as well. So the piece in Logan City. And Logan City's transportation master plan has that eventually connecting to a future 80 East, the road that would go back behind Costa Vida, if you're familiar with that. And so that is our plan. We're actually planning and designing that at the same time. So The road, however it's designed, if we want it to align,
There, just,
Mhm.
because I can't envision that. So it's going from south to north to the
yeah, Ryan, can you pull that up?
coast of the, I've got it up on my computer.
So there's a little cul-de-sac there where there's some homes. That
It's
Logan's-
east of Costa Vida.
correct, yep. And Logan City owns the right of way through there.
So not into the,
Hmm.
not into the commercial development that,
I think it will come out at, I think that's 75 east.
75 or 80.
Yeah. Yeah, so the eventual plan is that cul-de-sac road. You can see that right up behind the bank. You can see that right of way that come down through there. That will come down through an angle back. Our intention is to connect it to Providence City's road right there. I forget what north that is.
Connected to this road here.
Yep. And parallel the line there, and then it shifts. And so one of the reasons for the joint jurisdiction road is if we want it to continue to Logan on that 80 East, you're going to cross city boundaries either way. And so you're running into a joint maintenance system in some way, shape, or form, especially depending on how utilities loop and so on. And so that's we recognize a joint jurisdiction road is difficult and it adds some complexity, but it's going to happen either way if we want it to connect through there. Because Logan City is going to require us, just to provide some candor and context, they're going to require that 80 East connect down through Golf Course Drive or Golf Course Road. So if we don't want two roads right next to each other, which the transportation engineers won't want that, we're going to need to connect them somehow.
But it does allow more parking if you have both roads.
We could just combine it into 4 lanes. And it's worth noting, and I don't know if Scarlett was here. This was done long before I was here, but when there was an initial design through here, when they designed this agreement, so there's an agreement with the owners that road aligns with the access. I'm sorry, I'm back on the prologue piece. So if you go south, Ryan. So the way the road's designed now, it aligns with that drive aisle into that commercial property just to the
Into
south.
here.
No, sorry, to the
Oh, into
South.
here.
little left. So that's why that road has that slight angle. So it aligns with that drive aisle there to deconflict that transportation intersection. And then it parallels down the property line, shifts into Logan City. Providence City will come in and connect through that cul-de-sac, and then it goes up through Logan City. So either way, it's kind of this hard chess piece and puzzle program to work through between the two cities, but that's our current plan.
And oftentimes the one that owns the road is takes care of the utilities underneath it. So in Macy's owns the road. They own the utilities underneath. They're a private utility. On this one, because when we go to dig up a road, we have to build the asphalt back to our standard, right? The reason why oftentimes we have roads over top of our utilities, and that because then we maintain that, whether it's our franchise agreement with the gas company, or if electric's buried, or our franchise agreements, or our water and sewer, we go dig into the road, and we don't have to go and ask. So let's assume we have a water leak. We don't like those. We get a few of them. You've maybe been affected. But when we go, we don't want to have to ask for a permit to excavate in the road, because now the surface is theirs and the subsurface is ours. It does create a conflict. So the question is in this road that you're proposing on the west side, whose utilities are in that?
Logan. So the Providence City utilities run through the middle of the
So if the
project.
Providence runs through one, it makes sense for it to be in ours. This one, although we would get money from the state to maintain, or we would get, some responsibility or whatever, it does make sense that if it's their utilities, they certainly don't want to come to us and ask for a encroachment permit every time they want to do something to their utility. It does have some of those, and we are, for instance, we have some that come and connect. Another example of this, just to kind of show you, is over here on 1700 South. And this is what Scarlett was talking about, having it not being perpendicular to each other, but to be anyway connected. So our road hits a straight line there, and then they pick up from there. And so we do have points at which we connect to them, but our responsibility is full width of road here, and their responsibility is full width there. Our utility comes, and while it's in the road down here, it veers out and goes into the right of way in here. So our utilities are now out of their road. And so we do have, most of the time, we have a separation like that. We'll either add right of way to get out of theirs, so that we're not in that conflict. But this is another example of where it could have been. I mean, we're on the south side, they're on the north side. And so it could have split the baby in half and done it, but because of these things, there is our normal is separating like this, and I don't know that we currently have any with Logan or Millville that would have a joint, right? So we have, Logan may have those. They're a bigger city. They touch a lot of other cities. We don't currently have an agreement of what they're talking about. So we don't currently have any of those operating. I don't. So that's why it becomes an issue that we want you to make sure that you're aware when you're looking at this from both sides that there is potential. And while we like Logan, there's always conflict with two different entities. If it's a state entity or a county entity, we have some of those, and it is that. So we certainly want a resolution. We want them to be able to develop their property. But oftentimes you have curb. Curb can go to one city, asphalt, curb, and the other goes to the other. So you split the baby that way on the curb to asphalt line. And so then it's very clear of who's taking care of it. We don't want to plow one side and the other side not get plowed. If Logan will plow both sides, we might as well maintain it. So if it's their utility, they might as well maintain the road. So anyway, that's kind of the thought. I mean, to distract from that, but
I've done several joint jurisdiction roads, and a maintenance agreement is usually what's done, and they usually have long time frames, 10, 20 years. And it's a lot easier if you don't have joint utilities in the road too. If you're just talking surface maintenance, then you just decide how that works. And we would be happy to draft that with our council, and then let the cities evaluate through there.
Alternatively, they can keep it as a private road and they can continue to do the maintenance themselves.
We could.
I
Then your standard that you're trying to adopt, Ryan, doesn't.
I know. I do like the standard. I really do. I do. I'm so torn.
You could write that into it, that you would adopt the standard.
The other one is what's the other side of the standard? So you've now recommended a standard. Logan has an APWA, but we have our modification to that width. So what's going to be the width of this road?
Typically, the way we do it is whoever has the more, depending on the developer, the city's perspective, whoever has the greater requirements. So if Logan City has a higher standard than Providence City, we would go.
The more burdensome.
Yeah.
Well, then I would think if you're going to adopt it, then you have that as a condition, because that would clear up a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that one was listed in your conditions or not, but that would be a great condition. I didn't know that. I appreciate that. I wasn't able to make that meeting, so I apologize. Maybe I could have resolved that earlier, but I'm sorry. But I would recommend that condition be added, that it's the greater standard. We're getting closer to their standard, but there is some differences. They've picked, some of their roads are more narrow than ours. And so, yeah, anyway. But otherwise, keep it in one city or another. Or I don't know how you're going to figure that baby out, but we'll let you drive the plow at 4 a.m. when you decide to split it too. So maybe if you have a CDL, but.
So if the road's split between the two cities and then you create you said a contract or something,
Yeah, interlocal
does some,
agreement or a
one
joint
city have to
maintenance
pay the
agreement.
other one to maintain it then, or how does that work?
Sometimes there's a cost sharing involved, and it depends on the city and how Logan wants to do that. Most of the ones I've seen do have some sort of cost sharing just from a snow, and it's less the snow because usually if a snowplow drives down, they're going to drive the other way. It's more when it comes to resurfacing the asphalt and those types of things.
And so, just out of curiosity then, since you own both pieces of land, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the challenge, or how difficult is it, or why would you not just move the line if the cities would agree to one city or the other so that then it doesn't have joint jurisdiction?
Good question, because it's going to cross the line either way, right? It's going to connect to Logan City's 80 East to the north either way, and so it's going to move from one city to the next. And so whether it happens on this piece or it happens 100 feet down the road, it's still going to cross, and we'll deal with that in some way.
And it can cross or straddle. I think that's our concern, is not that it crosses, but that it straddles. And it straddles it for that. And that's kind of the difference of the discussion. Yes, it will have to cross. We no question.
Just like the example you showed us down by Blackhawk.
It has to cross, yep.
Yeah. Which I assume is quite common between cities anywhere, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We come,
Yeah.
you know, the county road goes right through our city. We stop there. Sometimes we'll plow through it and that, but we know that's their maintenance. This is our maintenance. They're very clear that their road cuts many of our roads, right?
Yeah.
But we work it out.
So I guess I'm just curious because I'm learning, trying to figure this out. But again, why not do that? Is it costing you more money and so you don't want to do that, or because it seems like for the city it's an inconvenience, but maybe for you it isn't, or something. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out why.
So
not.
there's two complications, but you're talking about moving it onto one side or the other. The main complication is yes, we own and control both, but the ownership stack on both of them is different, and so it's a different, like, it's not the same. So we're taking
There's
something from one group.
different legal entities
Yeah.
owned by different
So you're taking you
investors.
have to sell a piece of ground to one or the other, and
Okay.
it's doable. Like, we can do it. One of the things that we would do in that case, so if let's say that we wanted to move it all into Providence City, then we would no longer put that utility easement down the middle, because I'm not going to put two sets of utilities in for a project. So we would move that into the road, and then we'd have Logan City's utilities either run parallel to that.
So
on
which
their
is
side.
easier? Two cities to agree or two of your entities to agree?
Depends on the cities.
It's a rhetorical
Yeah.
question.
I mean, one of the things that I think is important to highlight is, we're talking about joint maintenance, and we're talking about joint maintenance of several hundred feet. It's not like it's a miles long road. It's not a really expansive piece of asphalt. And so I think it's a really well contained stretch of road that we could, put a pretty clear agreement together that is probably going to outlive most of us, or as long as we want to work, that the city just agrees to the cost sharing or whoever maintains it. For example, some examples I've seen in the past is one city agrees to maintain it. They'll clear the snow. They'll do all of that. The other city agrees to resurface it. It just depends on who starts to have those negotiations and what it costs and what equipment each city has.
So do we currently have any agreements like that with any of the surrounding towns or cities?
We have none like that. What we do have is we have one that was just built. There is a little street here in Millville that we maintain, a little turn at the bottom of what is that road? 800 East. Yes. So we have a little one. Our agreement with them is that we will maintain it as a temporary road, but they can't connect any utilities onto it nor any development. And when they do, they'll take ownership back. So our agreement with them was, hey, as long as it only serves Providence, then we'll take that, but you can't develop on it. You can't, they can't access it. It's not there. So at that point, that's the one. I think that it took 20 years to get a deal like that done. 25, maybe 30.
Well, now Scarlett's a pro at it, so it won't be.
I think it went through court, had an annexation, rejected. We don't have a good track record of what he's talking about. So
Okay, that's what I
One
was,
of the other complications is if you move it entirely to one city or the other, there's going to be accesses off both sides. And, you know, we don't want to come with a Logan City project to Providence City and try to figure out how to access off that road. And if you run the property line down the middle, then, you know, as long as it's built to the standard, then each city will work to make sure those access points are safe with their transportation engineer and others. So
and that's why having the asphalt be in one city and the curb, because your curb is what your access is tied to, is your curb should be belonging to the city that you're going to access. Because then you can cut the curb, you can modify the radiuses, but the asphalt is generally maintained the same, but the curb should and usually does belong to the city that the access is tied to. So that's why curb is generally that where you split the baby at.
but in order to do that, you would still have to sell a skinny little strip of land
correct.
one way or the other.
I think part of the question too is how important is it to the city, to Providence, that we connect to, sorry, Ryan, I don't know what that road to the north is, what number that is, that little cul-de-sac. 485.
465.
How important is it to Providence City that we connect to that road? You know, because if we push this, for example, all on Logan's side or the other way, it just becomes, you know, where that road goes. And if we parallel the line, then we're just gonna shift slightly over and run it all onto Logan's side once we hit that north spot, and Providence City will connect. If we shift it all the way to Logan City, then there's no certainty around how we design that road to make sure that road connects. So I think
When you
we're
say that cul-de-sac, because I'm confused.
So
You're talking to the cul-de-sac that's in Providence City,
this
correct, yeah.
cul-de-sac here,
not the cul-de-sac that's down by.
not this
That will
one.
connect either way. So that's part of Logan City's requirements. So we'll connect that to Golf Course Road either way. That's in their transportation master plan. But Logan City doesn't care
Because
if
in
they
that
connect to.
cul-de-sac at the top there, there's a little parcel that Logan City owns.
Correct. Yep.
Right, they have this little piece
Yeah.
for their temporary cul-de-sac, and we have this little piece for our temporary cul-de-sac. Both of us want to have that road to go straight through. We want a through road, and they want a through road. We both have the ownership of those roads to have that happen. So obviously, both cities want that to be achieved.
So I think that, I mean, we're in the heat of collaboration anyway with all of these different connections. And so we would be willing to go through the brain damage of getting a joint jurisdiction road just as we're trying to conserve on land and make those connections as tight as possible.
So do you mind if I ask Scarlett a question?
No.
So if we added a condition that the road that would be put in, if it straddled the city line, would be put to the standards of the more strictest standards between Logan and Providence, would that meet the city's need in your opinion?
So when we talked about this in the meeting we had, you can do a lot of things with interlocal agreements. The thing of it is, what we think is going to be really great. Yes, I think we need to say the road would be built to the stricter city, depending where we split the road, depending on that. But no matter where we split the road, it should be built to the greater standard. So yes to that part. The interlocal agreements, they're difficult because what we think is really good, and we look down the future as far as we can see, we can't see what changes down the future. We have run into couple of hiccups with some of our interlocal agreements long-term on some other utilities that I'm not faulting the people that made those interlocal agreements. They did the very best they could with the knowledge that they had, but those agreements are like 30, 40 years old, and such has changed. Now, maintenance on a road, maybe it wouldn't have, well, maybe it won't change that much, but yet we just don't know what that future is. That's the one thing that's a little bit difficult in it. But I do think having just one city's utilities in it, having it built to the greater standard, those things are definitely beneficial. But I think we could get along fine with an interlocal agreement in the near future. It's just hard to know if that really will be the right thing to do in the long-term future.
Question for you, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Are you in a hurry that if we table this to the next meeting and explore that a little bit more, or are you guys in a rush to,
Explore kind of the interlocal agreement type thing
or, yeah, the interlocal agreement?
from a, so to answer your question, we're in a slight, you're neck and neck with how we're designing this with Logan as well. So we're going through that. And if that road needs to shift to one side or the other, that's impactful. You know, it's not going to throw us off if it's a week or two. But but I think that's also something you could put as a condition of, hey, we have an acceptable interlocal maintenance agreement on that road if it is joint jurisdiction. Because I think from our standpoint, if it shifts to full jurisdiction one way or the other, we're redesigning the plat because we're not running the utilities through the middle of the property anymore. So it's a pretty substantial redesign if we change that plan, which we'd be fine to do. But like Scarlett mentioned, then we're going to end up with a road with half the road you have Logan utilities in and the other half you have Providence City utilities in. And those are kind of frustrating to do, both on a construction standpoint and from a maintenance agreement. So I would prefer it happen as a condition because we're already working through that process. But if the city's like, we don't even know if we want that, then that's something you guys need to work through and understand.
I've been on here for 8 years, I think. I've not run into this problem before, so it's a new one. Thank you for it.
Like to keep things fresh for you.
It's a big enough one. I would recommend that they bring back a draft that you can at least before approving something and knowing that at least bring it back a draft and maybe something. I mean, the condition. So walking down that condition, let's say it comes back and it is conditioned. Those agreements will have to be approved by both councils. So then have you approved something prior to and got ahead of the next person to be able to approve? And what if they don't approve, then it comes back? There is some more nuances with this. I think it's worth at least seeing, since you have not seen one, we have not, the staff has not seen one. It would certainly be helpful to take this and at least have them presented one that is maybe workable, and maybe at that point, obviously, when we don't know something, we have a tendency of filling in with the worst. Maybe if we saw one, maybe that would be helpful, and if they have done several, then maybe that would help all of us, both staff and the planning commission. So we see that before we jump in a condition. So that's another thought.
Even if you do see it before, you would still have to have it because the cities would have to approve that agreement. So even if you guys like the agreement and you recommend it, it's still up to Logan City Council and Providence City Council to approve the agreement. So their plat kind of has to hinge on something that's out of all of our control. We will make a good recommendation once we see what it is, but it does, if it's an interlocal agreement, it does have to be approved by both the city councils, not just the city staffs.
And we've talked to Logan. I know Ryan wasn't there, and Logan Engineering they're they're not scared of it. They're fine with it. I mean, they understand it has some legal agreements to come with it, but they're not concerned about a joint jurisdiction road.
Because the Logan Engineering doesn't do the local maintenance either. So.
So just to build off a little bit of what Scarlett said, it's hard to come with a draft of a legal document on a theoretical plan. You know, so if we have a preliminary plat that if we can come to an agreement that we're okay with a joint jurisdiction road, I'm happy to go down that and bring drafts that are part of the final. And I don't know, do we come back to planning commission for the final? So they wouldn't see that again then.
Well, we're just preliminary.
But the city council would have to approve it then.
Nope.
The city council, the only reason the city council would see this is because of the interlocal agreement. The city councils aren't in the this anymore.
Okay.
So.
It goes to an administrative land use committee
Yeah.
composed of the engineer, the development director, and Ryan, you're on there, aren't you?
Nope.
Public works.
Public Works, Scarlett, and city engineer.
And so, but the city councils for both, and Logan's engineering team must be braver than ours. I would not ever dare second guess a city council. I wouldn't dare commit them to saying they'll be okay with this.
Well, that's my point, is they're the ones that have to approve the interlocal agreement.
Yes.
Right.
So
okay.
if for some reason, let's say Providence City approved it, but Logan City said, no, we can't live with that, then you may be, we don't want to get an approved preliminary plat and have you vested with an approved preliminary plat if the city councils that have to weigh in on that agreement, if one or the other don't agree with the agreement.
Could we then just amend the preliminary plat?
That's what you would have to do at that point. So as long as you're aware of that, and you can't come back and say, but you approved this preliminary plat, as long as you're aware that that's a condition, is that both of the city councils agree on whatever agreement we end up with, whether that's a boundary adjustment agreement or whether that's a interlocal maintenance agreement.
And that's what I'm familiar with, is the preliminary plat would get approved, and basically it's recommended for approval upon condition of an agreeable maintenance agreement or interlocal agreement. That's how I've seen it done before.
But I can see them wanting to at least see what an agreement, because we've not seen one. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know that Logan City has an interlocal agreement on road maintenance like we're talking about, that they've seen one.
I know they have one with the county because I did it, but I don't know if they have one with another city or something like that.
So I think to ask for something for them to be able to see is not a out of the park ask.
No, and I think I guess one of my questions is, from the planning commission standpoint, what's your prerogative on the interlocal agreement?
My prerogative, and I'll just, to move it along, is to table this and give staff an opportunity to draft some additional conditions for us to consider. Because we're shooting on the fly with the conditions right now, and I don't know that staff looking at it and making a recommendation to us that we cover everything that we need to. So
my understanding, and Brian and Scarlett, correct me if I'm wrong, as designed, the plat meets Providence City Code. Is that correct?
With some of the changes that we've noted in the,
Right.
so I wouldn't say as designed, I would say as presented with the changes noted in the staff report that you're still working on.
Right, which does not require the other half of the road to even be built.
Well, that's
Correct.
one of the comments in the staff report, is that get worked out.
But the code doesn't require the other half of the road be built. Is that?
We would only require the partial road.
And so from my thought from the planning commission is to help us understand if it meets code. The interlocal agreement is not a code requirement necessarily for this project, because the road, half the road can still be built on Providence City. The access utilities still run through the middle. And so from the purview of the planning commission to help us understand if we're following code, that's what we're trying to get an understanding on. And I don't want to get that separated from the interlocal agreement, because we understand that's complex and we can work through that. But if we've designed a project that doesn't meet code, then that's a different conversation.
You're saying because that road to the west is wide enough, it's 24 feet,
Correct.
as is just what you have on the drawing here, and it goes to a cul-de-sac. I guess that's what that drawing is right there. It's not a dead end, it's a cul-de-sac.
Correct. Yeah, that would be a temporary turnaround.
Uh-huh.
It's not a cul-de-sac, it's a turnaround
Okay.
for fire.
I guess I don't know the difference. Either one, you turn around in a circle, but,
I've always understood a cul-de-sac as round
okay,
as opposed to the hammerhead.
okay.
The one in the middle is the hammerhead. What are we talking about?
Yeah, see, look at the one on the west, though. There's
One on the west is
it is round,
Mm-hmm.
but it's off to the side of the road a little bit, but it is round. So whatever it is, you can turn around there.
correct. Yeah. So the project could, with or without Logan City's cooperation, we could build this project as designed, with the comments that staff has made.
Let me understand for sure. So the drawing that you're showing, how much are you dedicating to Providence City? What's the width of the entire dedication to Providence City right now?
We zoom into that, Ryan. $24? Was that what I see?
Well, 24 is the asphalt.
Yeah,
And
so,
then you have the 7-foot park strip and the curb and gutter.
2.5, and then 5 feet of sidewalk. So on top of the 24, and actually, I can't remember on the standard, it's a 2-foot shoulder, I believe, on the west, because we don't want you to just end asphalt in a drop-off.
Correct.
So 2-foot shoulder, so that's 26.
I think you're at 40 and a half.
That's what so I just want to make sure if you're thinking that you've met that the dedication is it's more than half the road, because we have to get the 2 travel lanes plus enough for a decent shoulder, plus the curb, gutter, park strip, and sidewalk on our side of the road.
Correct. Yeah.
So,
Which I think is how we have it drawn.
okay. Is that what it's measured out to?
Zoom in. I don't know if you're able to,
Try to zoom farther in, but where do you want me to zoom into?
just on that entrance down.
Well, I know the entrance is wider.
Right, I think the entrance helps us see the full, it helps us look at it. So you got that 66-foot right-of-way dedication at the entrance. Right, if you
Right.
just split that in half.
Right, the 66 here,
Yeah,
okay, and a 37 of asphalt.
right. At the entrance.
And then when it narrows down,
It goes to 24 of asphalt plus the additional, I think it would be nine feet
Mhm.
to get to that 33.
Right.
dedication.
it's not 33, it's more than 33.
The
33
requirement is.
the midpoint of the road.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
So it's
We probably
26,
haven't come to a
it's
nice-
24 for asphalt, it's 2 feet for shoulder, and then, so that's 26 plus 2.5 for curb and gutter. So you're 28.5 plus 11 for park strip and sidewalk. So 28.5 plus 11 is 39.5. So instead of 33, it would be 39.
And it looks like you've got 36 because you got 24 feet of
Yeah,
asphalt.
probably you just
7
don't have the
feet.
2 feet, well, that's,
You've got a 7-foot street, and then a 7-foot street strip, and then a 5-foot sidewalk. Correct? I guess
7-foot
sidewalks-
park strip.
Yeah.
so you might have to shift a little bit to meet our standard of the partial street, because you would have to do a partial street.
So you have to shift it 7 feet if you're gonna stay within the partial, and there's no, because we don't want 7 feet between Logan and that's the rest. So So if that, it would be a minimum of shifting of a 7 foot, so that the property line is at the edge of the, partial road cross section.
So the partial road needs to be 39 feet?
Well, I would say it's 40 and a half, but I guess we'll add that math up, because I think if it's 2 foot shoulder, if you add those up and you have the 2 foot shoulder, I think you're at 40 and a half, but
But the,
let's call it 40 feet, we minus the 33, that's 7, plus or minus inches.
Okay.
So, that would be, if you're gonna go down the road of, hey, this fits the city standard, and at that point, we're only talking 5 more feet. Right, then you're the full asphalt.
do you want Logan City Utilities in your road?
It's, at that point, then I can have an agreement that they just maintain the road, whether it's my ownership or and their maintenance, then they're maintaining on top of theirs.
Isn't that what we're doing anyway? Having an agreement that they maintain the road?
Well, at this point, it's the splitting the baby, I'm not sure where that's gonna come. That's the problem, I don't have an agreement to see what that's gonna look like.
So, okay, no, this is helpful. So from, I don't think we had that comment on our plat that this didn't meet the half road requirement. Correct?
Still the ordinance, right, that you have
Right.
to be half.
Right.
And that's still the ordinance, you should know what the ordinance do.
We,
No, I understand that.
no.
That's just something we haven't talked about.
no, we didn't,
That's right.
we didn't, well, we have talked about partial road cross-section, what our partial road cross-section
Right.
was. But I didn't call out partial road cross-section because I just said that we had to determine how that road was going to work.
Okay.
So, partial road cross-section would be included in that. But that's when you said this plat completely meets it. This plat, if you were building the both sides together and we had the interlocal and everything, then yes, it would meet it because the other side would get built in tandem with ours. But if ours is going to be standalone for a bit, then probably you've got to shift about 7 feet to meet our standard.
Okay. No, that's helpful. So I think from our standpoint, back to your question, Joe, is from the planning commission, is that the planning commission's position that we don't want an interlocal agreement? Like, is that in your purview to tell the city council that yay or nay, or is that a city council decision?
It's not within my purview, I can tell you.
Yeah, it's not, we don't decide that, but collecting all the information to make the appropriate recommendation is our duty. So collecting and understanding the whole process, what we're presenting, making sure we're presenting a full catalog and file and understanding is.
And
No, go ahead.
no, I was just so just to understand your comment, you're not comfortable moving forward with the condition that there's an interlocal agreement. It's you want to see and review that interlocal agreement before you recommend that they.
Well, yeah, we can discuss that. I don't know. But that would come maybe with the motion. I don't know. But I'm curious now with everything you were just talking about with this road being a standalone road. Does the plot as is presented right now, does it meet the standards, or we can't approve it if it doesn't meet the preliminary plot doesn't meet the standards that we need for a standalone road. Is that right? Am I understanding that right?
Well, they've got the 5, they've got the 7. I don't see the 2.5. But maybe because that's not included in the 24. They don't have the 2 on the west side for the shoulder. But it
Not all 24 is within
Providence.
Providence, right? Only half of 37. Half, yeah.
So they're showing the cross section minus the shoulder, but the boundary line, wait a minute, because part of that is all in Providence. The entrance is all in Providence.
Correct.
So I guess I'm confused now. This is not the boundary line, right?
This black line isn't the boundary?
This,
What's the
is
city-
this the boundary line?
If you jump up to the plat, Ryan, it will have the. Yeah, the entrance shifts completely into Providence to align with
Right.
that. Yeah, so that solid dash dark line is the.
So I think what they're missing is the 2 feet on the shoulder, right?
On the west side.
Yeah.
And that's 26 feet of asphalt?
Because where did we,
4 feet
because
of
I can
asphalt?
see, if you go to the other picture, I can see the 5 feet for the sidewalk and the 7 feet for the park strip. I don't see curb and gutter called out there. So if it's only 24, then you're missing the curb and gutter on the east side.
Yeah.
So this one doesn't have the property line on.
Right.
Correct.
It says property line, but that's not actually where the property line is.
But see, this side shows the curb and gutter. This side does not. So I guess that's what I'm asking. Is I'm not sure if you need to shift a little bit east for curb and gutter, or if it's just not illustrated but was accounted for.
No, that's a great question. We missed that too, so I'm not sure if that's in the counts or not.
Question for Scarlett. The document that the planning commission has here, we have some red text in there. Does this have to, the preliminary plat have to be redone?
No. Well, it might because of what we're talking about with the road,
The
but they could
document
adjust
itself.
that. But no, the red stuff will be taken care of as the final, as part of the construction drawings and the final plat comes in.
So this document needs to be updated.
No, they've addressed the red stuff,
Oh,
and
okay.
what they've said is we will put the engineer stamp on the final plat. That's what they've said, which
Okay.
they will put the engineer stamp, or not the engineer, the survey stamp on the final plat. And they will put a note on the final plat. So that's how they've addressed those comments. So the blue took the red that's red all by itself, and I think the only one is the dedication of the water, and they were thinking that had to do with fire flow and individual commercial site plan information. This is the subdivision on a whole, so they will do that, but the water dedication actually happens at final plat. So that will be addressed with final plat. So you could approve it with that condition that they address that. But the blue is how they addressed all of our other conditions, all of our other concerns.
Gotcha.
So in theory, if we were comfortable with how the road was going to be, and we made sure that they had the curb and gutter shown on the east side as well, then in theory, the plat would meet our code.
So to make sure I understand, the way the drawings are right now, we could approve the plat and the road is big enough to be a road, 2 lanes, 1 each way.
Well,
Or does the
we need
plat
to
need to be, do the
determine-
drawings need to be redone to
we,
show that?
we would need, well, I don't know if the dedication on the, I don't know if what they're showing they're dedicating on the plat, if that dedication actually includes the curb and gutter on the east side, and they just didn't illustrate it on this side, then that plat wouldn't need to be changed if they had dedicated the full partial street. But if they didn't dedicate the full partial street, they just have to shift that a little bit. But that's, if you're willing to let them go with a partial street, that's probably not enough to say we got to see the plat again. It would be a condition of approval.
Okay.
The bigger thing, though, is just that that the developer understand that if for some reason the two cities couldn't get together on the interlocal agreement, the preliminary plat, while it may be approved, it is not considered vested approved until that interlocal agreement is approved.
Right, that would be a condition that,
Because if you have, you may have to come back and rework the plat
Correct.
if they
Yeah, because
couldn't
one of the
get together.
questions we got from Logan City is Providence City okay with this? Right? And, you know, that's when we sat down with the engineers, and engineering is okay with it, but approved preliminary plat upon condition that there is a joint maintenance agreement and all those types of things is what Logan City's looking for, to know that they can take the next step. And, you know, I'm 100% willing at risk to go through that negotiation and that battle on our behalf, if that's something the city is willing to accept at the end of the road. But if we don't even know if you want that, then I don't want to go through all of those steps
Right.
just to.
right.
Well, sorry.
Go ahead.
I think a proposal of some ideas would have been nice to see, since we haven't seen this, but I don't know if you've referenced Utah Code Chapter 13. There's an Interlocal Cooperation Act, multiple different parts that give a framework. So that's a good reference for you to bring in, you know, to both cities. And then just some quick research. There are examples within Utah, Daybreak Development with South Jordan and West Jordan who have done this. And they did use that interlocal cooperation agreement in the Utah Code. Station Park and Farmington Station areas also did this. One in Colorado, Gateway District, Denver, and Aurora. So what it's looking like with each of these cities that have done this is there are obviously many considerations and agreements that would have to take place. It looks like you would draft a interlocal agreement clause with both cities. Then you create a diagram and then a framework with the Planning Commission and the council for the discussion. And then it would have to be up to the Utah codes. And there is also APWA standards, obviously, that we've addressed tonight. So that just gives me, and maybe the rest of the commission here, a little bit more of a framework that it's doable. It's never been seen before, so that's helpful. And just all of those access conditions would need to be met. And then obviously maintenance, but I don't know. That helped me wrap my head around it. So I don't know if that helped anybody else.
Thank you. So if we were to approve it, we would probably need to have at least two conditions. One, that the standalone road on the west is truly a standalone road and meets the standards of the city on on the west of that road, right? And two,
East? On the
oh,
west
sorry, the east. I
West.
said the west. Sorry, the east. You're right.
side
Yeah.
of what's proposed.
The east of the road, right? So that it truly meets a standalone road in Providence City. And two, that that it would be conditional on, based on an agreement between the two cities on how to maintain the road. Those two things would need to happen, right?
I think, from my understanding, it's either or. Because if we don't have cooperation with Logan City, then we just build your half road standard, and we figure out Logan City later. If Logan City is on board, then it just needs to be built to the, what do we call it, the more stringent standard? The more,
Yeah.
yeah. And so,
Okay. That makes sense, I guess. As long as it's a standalone road, then it meets the requirements.
Right.
That's true. Okay.
so the road needs to meet Providence City requirements either through an interlocal agreement or the half road standard is the way,
Partial road.
partial road standard. Thank you.
Okay.
But our goal is the interlocal agreement. That's where one of the perks. I hope it brings a little bit of comfort is we own both sides of it, so we're not going to walk away from a half road. partial road.
Okay. And then the road in the middle where Providence City would have utilities, right?
Correct.
And that is 20 or how many feet was it?
They're showing it 26, I think,
26.
which meets fire code, but that's kind of subject to change once they come in and do their actual site commercials. As each commercial lot does its site plan, that may expand from 26 to a little wider depending on how those site plans work out.
It's intended to be a drive aisle that the parking lots connect to internally. There's just a
So
public utility.
there's no gutter or curbing or of any kind?
No, that would be installed. I think that's what Scarlett's getting at, is whoever buys the lots come in and design their site plan and their parking lot, they would have to do their own stormwater assessment and gutter that and everything like that.
The cross drains would be done at that point, probably.
But it's being maintained by the owners of the properties, not by the city.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Alex or comments or anything? Thoughts?
I don't have any questions for him.
Bob?
I would like to see an updated document.
Okay.
I feel more comfortable looking at an updated document.
And updated would mean it would show on the east side of the road more of the development, or what is it you would like to see with the,
Whatever the discussion was here that we were talking about.
okay. If you want to come to the microphone, you're welcome to. Okay. State your name if you would, please.
Yeah, my name is Josh Barnes. It looks like, and I can come up and show you or plug in my device. It looks like our engineer just forgot to put in the curb on that east side. So I went in, I'll just come up real quick.
Thank you.
Yeah, I went in and measured it on the system. And Scarlett, I'll come show you too, so you can verify with your partial road standard. So you can see if I zoom in here, right? This 37-foot width goes to the edge of asphalt. You can see how has curbing that shows a double black line. This
It
one
didn't
just
do it on that side.
yeah, it just forgets that double black line, right? And so we do have that 2.5 foot
Can you see that?
curbing gutter. So you can see this one just forgets the double black line, right?
Mhm.
This one keeps that double black line. So we do have a 2.5 foot curbing gutter on that east side. Our engineer just forgot to include it in this
I
drawing.
can see. Thank you, though. Appreciate it.
So the width is there, just the illustration isn't.
Just the illustration. is
Yeah,
missing,
that's what I was
correct?
that's
So-
what I was asking
Yep.
from
Okay.
the beginning.
So it looks like on that kind of partial road, I believe this would fit the Providence City standard with that 2.5 foot. And it looks like we have about 7.5. Park strip, 5 foot sidewalk. So as is, I mean, we could update the illustration. We'd be happy to send it to y'all, but as it's shown right now, it looks like our engineer just kind of forgot that double black one. I appreciate you.
But on the actual plat, the amount being dedicated is correct.
Correct. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Thanks, Josh.
Does that
Anything
help,
else, Bob?
Bob?
No.
You're good? You're good?
Well,
No?
I'm uncertain about it, to be honest with you, to move forward. I think there's tweaking that needs to happen here. Yes, we could, if we approve it, we're putting these conditions with it for more things to come that we haven't seen. I look at what Logan's doing, that their engineers are saying, well, is Providence okay with all of this and how it's being done? And then there's a question of the document that would have the agreement that would have to be made. I just think there's still loose pieces, we would be, and then it's, well, are we obligating by being able to say, yeah, we have an approved plat, preliminary plat? Are we obligating the city, and we can say, well, the applicants understand that if it doesn't go right, or we don't, or something changes, or there's not an agreement made, they have to come back and revise the plat, that they would have to do that. It's not vested, so it's not completely approved. I don't know if we're far enough along, and I don't feel comfortable with it, to be honest with you right now. To say.
Can you help me understand what would help you be more comfortable?
If every issue was identified and clear, if we knew what Logan City was going to do or willing to do, what city council was willing to do from Providence side, that this is how it's going to come together, and this is what we're going to do. That would
So
be good.
are you asking me to go to city council and ask their opinion before I come back to planning
Well,
commission?
city, you're only gonna get from us either a recommendation, or what's kind of been a feel, I think, a little bit, is to say, we'd like to see a little bit more. We'd like to see something. We haven't done it before. The staff hasn't done it before. We rely a great deal on them and what they present us with to review and to make sure it all follows. That's not there.
So
So is all the pieces there? My personal opinion is, I don't see all the pieces there.
I'm trying to understand what the piece you
Okay,
need
what,
from me
what
is.
piece is there? You need Logan City to agree, and you need Providence City to agree.
Agree
And
to
you're saying-
what?
Agree to what? An agreement between the two cities. Okay, that's what you're missing. We don't have that. We don't have a preliminary version of that. We just have the idea that, hey, we're gonna go get it and see. And that's what I don't feel comfortable with.
Does the planning commission approve those agreements?
No, we don't approve that, and we don't approve this. We make
No,
recommendations.
This is your
Well,
approval.
This is our approval, but
Would
that
the
agreement
interlocal
and so
agreement, does the
forth,
planning commission approve that?
no.
So
Would the interlocal agreement, does the planning commission approve that?
I don't think so.
at that
Council.
point, land use ordinance, I'd have to look to see the
Billy,
interlocal on that one.
Did it say planning commission made a recommendation in state code when you were looking?
Yeah, it did say that that was, let me. Getting-
I think if I'm understanding you, like, I totally agree where you're coming from. I think you can do a lot of that in conditions, because it's really hard to go and get these preliminary frameworks without a preliminary plan. Because if just to be candid, if I'm not confident Providence City is gonna be okay with a half road, I'm redesigning this project to look different. To be candid, because I'm not gonna take that risk of what if. I'm just gonna go and put it all in one jurisdiction or the other and deal with that, which brings its own complications. But that's kind of just from our standpoint how we're trying to do this efficiently.
Well, and that's part of what I don't understand. It's kind of like, I need you to approve the plat so I can go forward with this. Is this beneficial to Providence City? Do we want it this way? Is that what we want? Does that benefit us? Because it kind of sounds like, well, if you guys don't do this, then I'm going to go do something different.
No, I'll just design it differently.
Okay. What would be the difference in how you would design it?
I'd probably push the road all the way over into Logan City
Okay.
and not give Providence access to those lots, and just make them larger and have you deal with the access off of Gateway Drive.
Okay. And that would be a thing. I don't know that we would, you're saying you'd push it all in. So part of the road portion would be pushed into Logan.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And so you'd still come back to us with this, and then you need access off of Gateway Drive and so forth like that. And so there's issues there, because that's a busy road already. So
Correct.
again, it's kind of like, I feel a little pressure that you're trying to put pressure on us to approve it with conditions, because that's what would benefit you the most. I don't know if it benefits Providence City the most.
Well, let's learn on the interlocal agreement process. Does the planning commission, are they involved through under the state code for an interlocal? Are they involved in recommendation?
I'm not seeing anything specific, but I
Okay.
haven't studied the document. It's just something.
Okay.
When you have a development agreement, which is the equivalent of an ordinance nowadays,
Yes.
then the planning commission has to make a recommendation to the city council on that. So the question that you're asking, sort of, as I'm understanding it, is an interlocal agreement consistent with a development agreement that would be an ordinance?
That's what,
And we don't know the answer.
and that's what
to that.
Alex was asking. Does the planning commission have to see the interlocal? And that's what I don't know,
And-
Alex, if they have to give them a recommendation. Do they approve it? No, that's definitely in the city council's ballpark. But if it's treated like a development agreement, then it does need a recommendation from planning commission. So I'm not
Yeah, I'm-
familiar enough
Have
to know.
forgive us, 'cause we haven't dealt with it.
No, and I understand it. A big part of an interlocal agreement that I'm familiar with comes with a map and diagrams, and the framework of that map is what you're preliminarily okay with. And so I would in theory take this map, if you approve it with that condition, and build an interlocal agreement that matches this drawing that I know you're in theory okay with, if Logan City's okay with. That's the step I'm leery to make if I don't know if we're okay with it as designed. For example, if Michael is like, no, we want the road in Providence City or nothing, then that's a helpful piece of information to know before I go through and.
I don't think we're saying.
No.
I think we're just uncomfortable because we can't verify in our own mind that the half or partial road is all being dedicated as required by the ordinance because,
I thought we did verify that.
well, I understand we're going in a circle here, okay? I haven't verified it on this plat to my satisfaction.
Okay.
And as I see it going over here, the calculations are going on the fly. And then this gentleman in the back,
Josh.
Josh, I assume he's accurate and made it. So I don't know whether I'm approving this plat or his plat and I'm pro-development. I'm actually wanting you to move along. That's why I made the motion to move you up, so you didn't have to.
No, I
sit down
appreciate
with a
that.
couple of other things. I would feel comfortable making a motion to approve it, subject to the conditions that Scarlett's outlined in the staff report, subject to the conclusions of law that are in the staff report, subject to the verification by staff that this plat meets the conditions of a partial road.
And Ryan, we don't know that for sure. You're not comfortable saying this meets the conditions of a partial road?
I think the dedication has to be all within inside that. And I think you've got some of the dedication outside the city.
Okay.
That's my interpretation of it.
But, you know, you're working with a lay body here. We're not engineers. Some of us can do math and some of us can't. I'm one that can't.
No, and I appreciate that, and I don't want you to feel pressured to do anything. It's just really hard for me to operate with Logan City on I don't know, maybe Providence City's okay with this, and so that's why I would lean towards your method of approval, because then I know at least if I can get Logan City on board, which I already mentioned, we've got their engineering on board, they're okay with it.
So
Then
what I've been speaking about, as I understand it, means that eventually the road will have Logan City utilities underneath the road on the Logan City side, whereas the utilities from Providence come up the middle on the fire road.
correct, yep.
I don't care where it comes. As long as it meets the ordinance.
could be, Alex, that your dimension drawing shows, the way the dimension drawing shows the lines just doesn't totally line up with the way it looks like on the actual preliminary plat. But if it does, then we're good.
Right.
And so I think that's all they're saying, is they just want to verify that that dedication is actually what it needs to be.
And I understand that. Did I hear you right earlier when you said that's not necessarily something you would typically come back as a pre-plat for, if it's just an illustrative error?
Yeah, generally if it's, but I do think, and I have a lot of respect for Logan City's engineering, don't take this wrong. I think that we're in the same boat, though. I don't know that Logan City Council will agree with Logan City's engineer.
Yeah, I've had 4 experiences where that has not happened.
So I think that's part of the reason why to at least be able to see a draft that both engineering people think works. And then I'm not saying it has to be approved necessarily by the city councils before we could approve the plat, but I do think there has to be something that they can look at, that we can feel like, okay, because I don't know that the Logan City will actually agree with what it is.
That's a possibility, but I know for a fact they won't even listen to me if they know I don't have a preliminary plan that meets Providence City's standards.
If I could add something, I think the one that I like what the plat, your layout and the things you're looking to do. I don't have any issues with that. What I'm concerned about is, and I don't think we've got a definite answer. Does the planning commission include the agreement? Do we have to, do we recommend that, or do we approve that? I don't know that we understand for certain if that is a part of it, that type of agreement, because like they said, we haven't done one, we haven't come up against that in many years for everybody that's been on here and so forth. And I think if it is that we're supposed to, then I would need to see it. I would need to see a draft of it or whatever, or something that, that if it's something we're responsible for, then it's something we should see. If we're not, if it isn't, that we don't have to, if it was a development agreement, we definitely do it. This is similar to that.
I think the question of whether or not a interlocal agreement is similar to a development agreement, which is an ordinance that we would have a recommendation on, probably needs to be addressed by the city attorney.
Right.
Yeah, this may or may not be the case, but just from scanning it, it does say that each governing body, so right here it'll say the Water District or Water Development Council would make a recommendation to the legislative bodies, others. I don't know what,
I think it just needs to be
if
cleaned
that
up. Yeah.
is applicable to us.
So at this point, Chair, Bob,
Yes.
I think the question, maybe simplifying down, I mean, we're talking your next meeting potentially could be 2 weeks. It's not a big delay at that point where the city council wouldn't act. I mean, they'll act on some of the things you do tonight, next week. But even then, I mean, you have either 2 weeks or a month, and for us to get an opinion on the city attorney. The question comes, if you approve with conditions, then at that point, it becomes the staff to follow up on those conditions and to resolve those conditions. So it goes to administrative land use. You won't see it back. If you postpone it and ask for the developer to bring certain things, whatever those certain things might be, then they bring that back to you. You would see that and then make your decision. So if it has any weight on your decision, to be able to see, then you may want to say, well, let's postpone and ask for these things to come back. If it doesn't, you say, well, we don't really want to see it. We just want to move forward that it's as if it's done. Then you won't see it again. If you approve with conditions, you won't see it again. If you postpone, then it comes back to you. And that I think is kind of the boiled down question is, do you want to see it again? And if you do, what do you want to see in addition to what you have? Or are you turning it over to staff to resolve? I guess is that fair to boil it that way?
Well, I think pretty much, other than this one thing. If it is that we have a responsibility to review it, then I have to wait for that.
Well, that's,
If it's
That's
that we
the-
don't have to,
that's the interlocal agreement you're
Right.
talking about. You're not
Yes.
talking about the plat map.
not
You're
plat
talking
map, anything, I think everything is good there. I know Bob's feeling was clean up a couple of things, make sure it has that, that's all great. The only thing I'm hung up on is if we have an obligation to be a part of recommending that agreement, then if we have that responsibility, then that's what we need to do. If it isn't our responsibility, then I don't have any problem approving with conditions.
If we take it to the attorney and say, hey, here's the interlocal that if it's conditioned that there's an interlocal, and then we take that draft and the attorney says that needs to go through land use, then that would come back. I mean, if we get that recommendation, that would come back. If it's before your approval of this, so if the attorney specifically says, yeah, that needs to go back, then that would come back as a different agenda item. So I don't want to make you feel that if
Yeah.
we want to follow the law, if that law says, hey, they have to make a recommendation on this, then we would bring that back.
Maybe
So
it might be helpful to kind of revisit the application doesn't include an interlocal agreement. The application is the plat that includes a partial road drawing that meets code. The interlocal agreement is something that would have to happen if the rest of the road got built with Logan City, not something that needs to happen to satisfy Providence City code, other than it's built to the partial road requirements.
I concur in that.
And so I think the decision before is the plat with a partial road. The interlocal agreement is a separate thing that's going to be my problem when I work with Logan City, and then I'm going to come back with that agreement for the joint maintenance of that. Because the reason that would come back to the Providence City is there's going to be some funding shared. But I think from the decision before you today is, does this preliminary plat meet your requirements with a partial road as drawn? And maybe that helps simplify it to, as long as it meets the 20, or whatever the feet is, that's an easy condition to say, as long as it meets partial road requirements, we're okay with it. And then we can kind of bring the interlocal agreement, which I've always imagined being kind of a separate action item that follows the plat, rather than trying to combine them together.
So if legal says it is something we have to review, then it comes back regardless of whether we approve or not. Yeah, but because that's all it is saying is that we would need to look at it if we have a responsibility.
So we could approve the preliminary plat with the condition that that road meets Providence City standard on the west side of the property. I cheated and used AI. I use it a lot. Under Utah code, the primary approval comes from the governing body of each participating agency. By default, executive approval. For standard agreements, the agreement is approved by the person or body vested with the executive power of the agency. For example, mayor, county manager, or a board of trustees is what it says. There are more major ones that require the city council. That's creating a new interlocal entity, issuing bonds, sharing taxes or other revenues, acquiring or transferring real property, or constructing facilities, adjusting the agency's budget for current or future years, or partnering with an out-of-state agency. And then it's mandatory that it's reviewed by an attorney. That's AI. That's cheating a little bit, but which means it's probably not our decision on that, I'm guessing. And it lists the code that it's quoting from. So So if that helps any, but
And was that AI licensed in the state of Utah or the state of Idaho?
Is that the
Let's
freeware
Google.
version or the?
Gemini. Anyway.
I
Well,
use it, so I'm not knocking it. I use a higher paid model than Gemini.
well, yeah, I just went to the easiest one so
Yeah.
I could hurry and do it. But anyway,
So we could make a motion to approve the preliminary, to approve the plat. The preliminary plat, subject to those conditions, all the things that we've talked about. If there is some requirement that it come back to us, the agreement, the interlocal agreement, then find that comes back if, because like you said, that's not a part of the application.
Correct.
So I think and as long as we just clarify and say the conditions are that it needs to show on this plat, there's the couple of little things that we're missing, that's done,
The partial road standards. is
partial
that how you
road
would say that?
standards.
I think
the-
I think that's the only thing really is just that road on the west
Yeah.
to make sure it meets, if it's going to be an independent road. And in the future, if there's an interlocal agreement, it may not be just a Providence City road. It may include Logan on part of it. But if it meets the standard of an independent city road,
Yeah.
that's I think our biggest concern, right? I don't think we're concerned about where the
Anything else?
lots are.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, and nobody's expressed concerns about the road in the middle.
Yeah. But if we don't, it's not actually a part of the. So anyway, I'm just,
Bob, any other comments now that we've,
No.
okay, Michael,
I don't have any more.
Julie,
I don't have any more right now.
Joe?
Oh, I'm losing my voice, so.
Okay. So Joe's not gonna make the motion then, he's losing his voice. So does anybody else like to do that and make?
Clarify that motion that was being made was not a motion.
No, it was not a motion. I said
It
if
was.
I was to make a motion.
Yeah, he said if we were to do that, he didn't. So we don't have a motion yet.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that the planning commission approve the preliminary plat of the Prologue Commercial Subdivision plat, a 7-lot commercial subdivision located in the general area of Gateway Drive and Golf Course Road, subject to the conditions, subject to the finding of facts, conclusion of law and conditions, and with the condition of the plat reflecting any item, the standards of
The Providence City road standards on the west road.
Providence
basically,
City road standards on the west side. And
So that it's an independent road.
right. And I just had one question, Scarlett. The issue that came up about if the roads be built, and maybe that comes through when that interlocal agreement issue comes, of the road being built to the greater standards. Is that where that would be spelled out? It's not something now because we don't know that we have an agreement of anything. So
In the
Um,
absence of that, it would be built to the Providence
Providence
City.
City standards. I would turn to Joe, if he can nod and tell me, is there anything else that should be a part of the motion?
Not that I can see, Michael, but may I?
Yeah.
I would have added, and I'm interested in staff. I would have added that if the road between Logan, if the road is eventually developed, that the road, since a maintenance agreement is gonna have, that it be put in at the more stringent standard of between Logan and Providence. I don't know what those standards are, but I would have put that condition on this plat approval.
Okay, can you add that in if I just say ditto? So, Tyler, if that's all right?
That's a motion to amend your motion,
There you go.
Okay.
which
Okay.
needs a,
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a second to the motion that amends the motion. Before we vote, or before we get a second, that was what he said, right? What Joe said? Okay. I want to make sure I'm clear on this now, because the motion was that the road on the west side would meet the standards of a standalone road in Providence City.
Are we
And then you made a comment that, but if we get an interlocal, you didn't say it quite this way, but if you get it, my feeling was that you said, if we get an interlocal agreement, then it doesn't have to do that.
No, so I guess I'm confused on when you say independent road.
Well, I'm saying
the partial road requirements for Providence City.
Okay,
Yes.
right, sorry,
And then
partial
if-
road, but that it meets all those standards.
And if we get to an interlocal agreement prior to development, then it's going to be built to whoever has the more stringent standards,
Yes.
which I believe
That's
is
what you're
Logan
saying,
City.
right, Michael?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So it's going to be, it would be a partial, the motion is then the road on, I want to make sure we're clear on this, the road on the west side meets all the standards for a partial road in Providence City. And then if it came to an interlocal agreement with Providence and Logan, then it would meet the more strict standard for that road. But the minimum would be the Providence City partial standard road.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Once it gets past the entry, because there is a portion of it that's 100%.
Sure, sure. But we're talking about the entire road. So, yeah. Okay.
Okay, so that's our motion.
Is that a good enough motion? Are we clear as mud on that there, Ty?
I think so.
Okay.
Verify it all, get those back
You feel okay with
Yeah.
it?
audio.
So basically, I'm gonna put it in layman's terms. What Michael said is the motion is that we approve the preliminary plat with the stipulation that the road on the west meets the partial Providence City partial road standards.
And also subject to the findings and conclusions and conditions. of the
Right.
staff
Right.
report.
And-
That the plat reflect the items, clarification on the items, just a couple little things. Then I think everybody feels good about that.
Mhm.
With the added condition that the greater standard is used for the interlocal maintenance agreement.
Exactly. Whichever city has the stricter standard, that would be the one used to complete that road.
Okay.
That's a motion we have on the table.
I will second that motion,
Okay.
his
We ha-
motion.
I don't mean
Michael's motion.
Robert's Rules of Order, if you don't mind. So there's a pending motion to amend. I don't care if you approve it or disapprove it.
Oh, that's true. We did have, okay, we
You
needed,
got Michael's
Do another-
motion.
Oh, yeah, so
Okay.
he seconded,
Rules of Order is that the first motion was never seconded, that was then amended.
okay.
So you're back
Let's
to
start
the
from
original
scratch.
motion, 'cause
Let's start over. You're right. Let's start over, include his, and then,
Wherever you go.
would you like to make another motion? Maybe we do that over again. That makes sense, though.
All right,
Okay.
if I get off in the wrong wording, please correct me. Okay, I'll make a motion that the planning commission approve the preliminary plat for the prologue commercial subdivision plat, 7-lot commercial subdivision located in the general area of Gateway Drive and Golf Course Road, subject to the findings of facts, the conditions of law, and the conclusions of law and the conditions as set forth by staff, with the additional conditions that the plat be corrected to reflect the specific dimensions that were unclear, and that
For a partial road.
for a partial road. Anything else?
And
Interlocal.
Well, we're not, if,
then what was, no, I forgot what we
And
were.
that if Logan City,
Oh, yeah, it goes to the stricter.
if the Logan City side of the road is developed, then both sides would be
Yep.
developed to the most stringent standards.
So if there's an
between the two
interlocal
cities.
agreement
if there's an interlocal agreement that.
with Logan City,
With Logan City, the development the development of that road
Stricter.
would be to the stricter standards as set forth between the two cities.
Amen.
Okay. There's a motion that included everything we talked about.
I'll second.
We have a second by Joe Chambers. Any other discussion before we vote? Is that clear, Ty, what the motion was then? Okay. Those in favor of the motion that's on the table, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. We
Thank you
made
very
it.
much.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Item number 7. Use chart code amendment. The planning commission review, discuss, and may make recommendation to the city council regarding a code amendment change to show fitness center commercial as permitted in the commercial highway district. Which apparently that's what they're doing in the old restaurant, right? Sound like today?
There's another one that wants to come too, but we'll see if it ends up coming.
Okay, will you explain that then, Scarlett, please?
So, what happened when we did our most recent use chart change, which was in 2024?
Actually, we'll work off.
In 2022, when we codified, so on page 104, that shows how the use chart looked in 2022 when we did the recodification. And you can see there that fitness center commercial gym was a permitted use in the commercial highway district. In 2024, we reformatted because we added a couple of, we added LCR and something else that we hadn't had in the code that we needed to add in there. And so we reformatted, and in the reformatting, I must have made a typo, and I did not put the P in the commercial highway. And so that just was brought to my attention recently. And so we're coming to ask if you would put the P back in the commercial highway so that fitness centers can go there.
Likely the PD that was added in column.
Yes.
That P is probably supposed to be over
Mm-hmm.
CHD.
Yeah, that's likely what happened.
I saw it.
So the bottom line is we're looking at going back to what used to be that the fitness center, commercial or gym was permitted in the commercial highway district.
Yes. That's what we're asking.
That's what's being
That's
asked.
what I'm asking.
And to me, that seems pretty simple. That's how it's been. That's how it was. I personally am fine with that. Any thoughts on that,
No, not for me.
Bob, Michael,
No. No,
Julie?
I'm just trying
Joe?
to find that page, but
Okay.
I saw it before.
Do we have a motion then? We're making a recommendation to the city council. Bob or Julie want to make a motion? I think you two haven't had that opportunity yet.
Yeah, just getting my wording here.
Okay.
So. Let's see. Yes, I just will make the motion to include the P in the CHD column on the fitness center commercial gym row. To approve that as
And to make a recommendation to
make
this.
a recommendation to the city council.
Based on
Based
the,
on the conclusions of law and findings of fact, and the conditions set forth by the staff.
okay,
Anything
very
else you
good.
need to
Oh, So we have a motion by Julie to make a positive recommendation to the city council.
I'll second.
And Joe Chambers seconds that. Any other comments or? All right, those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it's unanimous.
I need to ask to be excused.
Okay.
I've got something going on tomorrow morning. I need to get up early.
Okay, well,
I apologize.
no, that's fine. Thank you.
Good night.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
So the last item is item number 8, Affordable Housing Incentives Code Addition Update. I don't know how long that's going to take to do that. Are we in a hurry to do that?
That's up to you. It might change in the state legislature anyway,
that-
but
That's true.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I was curious if they're, because I know they're right in the thick of all of that right now.
Yeah, and I
haven't talked about incentives much. They are probably going to make some changes to
Yes, but we were.
some of the
talking about
funding mechanisms, the tax increment mechanisms.
that the
But they
legislature
haven't
may
talked
make-
about these
Yeah.
moderate income housing. But if you want to postpone, or if you want to continue this to your next meeting, that's fine. But I do want, the whole code is new. This whole incentive code is
Right.
new. And so that's why it's all red, so that you could see that it will go to the city council all red, since it's all being added.
Yeah.
So the underlined part is the part that's new to this discussion, the rental part. Another part that's new to this discussion is that they will do the reporting, that the property owner annual report. As I did some more research, I felt like that was a good thing to add. So that's not something you asked me about, but that's something that, as I researched other codes, they had a property manager would report that. The city certainly leaves us, the city the option that we certainly can do our own audit, but we do require them to give us an annual report if you choose to add that in there. So it's totally up to you if you want to.
well,
Well, I would make a motion that we continue this item to the next meeting,
okay.
or
You're-
item number 8.
Okay.
This is
Wanna make
his
sure you're
son.
not-
So.
Ah, perfect.
Okay, we have a motion to
Continue.
move this
Yeah.
to the next meeting to continue the discussion.
I'll second that motion.
And we have, that was by Michael, we have a second by Julie. Ryan and I were talking before we vote on this, just for fun. Ryan and I were talking, I drove through the vineyards area where they're small lots, decent sized homes, but not big homes. Seems like that might be the affordable housing besides townhouses and condominiums in Providence. And then the city, I guess, voted, I was on my mission, I guess, but voted not to do that anymore.
You weren't here for Prop 1. It was
And
fun.
yeah, and well, and I just, so a city, even if we have something like this, a city vote can override it. Is that basically what we're saying? So, but we're doing this because the state requires it, basically.
It helps us with it helps so that we do not look like a bad actor. And the state, I think, has started to realize that, in fact, there's talk that they are going to put a pause on the moderate income housing report. I don't know if that will happen forever, but they're talking about pausing it. But doing something like this, we have it available. Now, whether a referendum, whether a developer tries to do it and somebody does a referendum, that's out of our control.
Right.
But us as a city, we did everything we could to help encourage it.
Right.
And that, the state is recognizing that. So I'm not saying that I highly doubt we'll have anyone take advantage of this, but in the off chance that they want to, we do have it available.
Okay, good. I just wanted to kind of clarify what happened there, so. All right. So we have a motion to continue that discussion at the next meeting. I guess, do we need to vote on that? So do we have and we had a second? Do we have a second? And Julie had a second. All right, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, do we have any other motions like to close?
Yes, I'll motion that we close the meeting.
Michael motions that we close,
I'll second that.
and Bob and Julie both seconded. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?